Sports Hit List by the fans and for the fans. Carl Coulons with another special Zoom edition. We have a very special guest, minor leaguer Logan O'Hoppe. Logan was a student of mine at SJP. Not necessarily a student of mine, but I knew him at the school. Logan, welcome to the show, man. Glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We also have our baseball expert. People don't like me to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Greg Polius. Greg, what's going on, man?
What's going on, Carl? Appreciate the intro. What's going on, Logan? Congrats on, making that big move.
Thank you.
And we have Chuck, who in the NFL prediction for the draft, he was actually the winner at, I think, 25%. So I have to acknowledge Chuck for his football efforts. Now he's on the baseball segment. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. What's going on, guys? I try.
So a quick backstory, Logan, I remember the last time I saw Logan, I handed him his high school yearbook. And the reason why, and this is what happened, was they have a yearbook party for the students at the high school. And Logan couldn't attend because he was in the process of going through training to potentially be drafted. And one of his teachers came to me and said, "Could you hand Logan his yearbook, please? I know it's breaking code, but could you do it?" I'm like, "For Logan, I can give Logan his yearbook." And I gave it to him, and I told him, listen, you can't show it to any other senior because no one else had seen it except for Logan. So he was the first senior this year, class of 18, to see it.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No problem. But from that moment, I also remember Coach Ralph Dalton. He, at the time, I was in charge of the Instagram for SJP, for St. John the Baptist High School in West Islip. And he sent me, when you got drafted, that moment of you at your house.
Phillies. Phillies select draft ID number 9365. O'Hoppe.
I remember just pointing up the finger in the hand and everyone just crowding you over.
Do you guys see that in the background? My daughter opened the door and is climbing on the bed.
Listen, I love it. It's so cool. It's so cool. Just leave her. It's fine. Just let her be.
I can't. She's going to jump off the bed.
Okay. Going back to that moment. Hello, Greg's daughter. Going back to that moment, Logan, can you take us back to that moment when you got drafted, the moments leading up to it? Did you know? Did they contact you? Can you walk us through basically the steps of the process of knowing if you're going to get drafted? Like, is there a committee that lets you know that you could potentially be drafted and you getting the call?
Yeah, so draft day was the worst day of my life until my name was called, and then it was the best day of my life. It's super, super stressful, the whole process. But to backtrack to the beginning, the summer before your senior year, I like to describe it as your time to get your name on the list with the scouts in these teams. So there are different scouting events that go on and different games that they'll come to. And if you perform there, then you're on the list for your senior season. And your season is kind of the time to show those guys, why do you deserve to play at the next level? And that's kind of how that process goes. And during that, there's interviews and questionnaires that they send out. So you have to fill out a lot of information and talk to a lot of different people working up to your senior season. And then senior year, the season itself was probably the easiest part as far as just going out and just worrying about playing. And then on draft day, so the draft is 3 days. On my year, it was June 4th, 5th, and 6th. So day 3 and 4 went by, or 4th and 5th rather, I'm sorry. And then June 6th came and I, had an idea whether my name was going to get called or not. But a big thing in the draft, at least on the third day, was that no one really knows anything. Anything can happen. So talking to not only other scouts, but my agent as well, he was kind of the middleman with all of that. And then just whispers here and there and different offers came in that, we talked about my family, and it's really stressful because you have to be on the fly with it. But luckily the Phillies called and came to an agreement, and a switch kind of flipped in my head that I had to do this instead of going to college, and I'm so happy I did.
Well, congratulations, man. I know it was excellent not only for you and your family, but just for the school and everyone. Once I posted, everyone was so excited for you and your family. It was a great moment. Now, can you take us through a day? So when you arrived and you got drafted, what's a normal, before COVID, what's a normal day routine like for you as a player?
Yeah, so it's different in rookie ball and in a normal, like, affiliate, as we call it. So an affiliate is one of those random cities you hear about that are like the stereotypical minor leagues. But after I got drafted, I went down to Florida to Clearwater at our spring training facility.
Great facility, by the way.
I love it down there. It's really, really a good spot to be. So we'll wake up. I'll run through an average day of my first summer. So wake up about 6, get to the field at 6:30. And then I'll have breakfast from there. And then we'll go into our tissue prep, we call it, which is kind of our soft tissue work and to get our, bodies ready for the day. And then depending on the day, we'll have a lift after that. And then we'll go into early work. So early work is pretty much cage work. You'll go into the cage and do whatever routine or drills that you need to do. And then we'll go outside with our team. So after the draft, I was assigned a team to the Gulf Coast League, and that's right down in Florida. So we'll go with our teams, meet, talk about the day before, and then we'll break and we'll go into an in and out. So kind of a fundamental, and then we'll do a team fundamental, which is kind of like a team drill with all of us involved. And then we'll go into BP. Pitchers will catch their bullpens after batting practice. We'll go and have lunch, and then at 1 o'clock we'll play a 9-inning game, and that's it. So it's a lot of baseball. It's a full day, but love every second of it.
Sounds awesome.
I forgot to mention to the fans that you are a catcher, by the way. That's your position, a catcher. Greg, you had a couple of questions you wanted to ask Logan?
Yes. I mean, I did have, a set of questions, but in just talking to you right now, I just wanted to ask one quick question. In terms of that decision, what was the to go to the Phillies instead of going to college? What was the deciding factor for you in that?
On day 3, I was set on college. I was committed to East Carolina University, and it was my dream school since I was 10 years old. And I was set on college the start of day 3. I'm not going to lie. In my head, I was saying my name's being called. I'm going to enjoy it, but I want to go enjoy school. But then once I called the Phillies and once I had a conversation with them, the switch flipped in my head, and it made me realize that this is something I've wanted since I was 2 years old. So East Carolina I've wanted since I was 10, but I've wanted this my entire life. So it was just one of those things, man, that just the switch flipped, and I'm so happy it did.
Chuck, you had a question too for Logan?
Yeah. Now I know that you played the position of catcher. So now, when you're down in camp, do you focus more on the defensive side when you're catching, or do you have to worry about more of the offense?
I would say we do a little bit more defensive work than offensive work, but not so much stressing on that part of the game. It's more just being there when the pitchers need us. So as far as skill work goes, we'll probably work on a pretty even amount as far as our cage work and drill work with catching. But the only thing that differs the two is all the bullpens we have to catch. That's kind of an add-on onto our drill work.
Okay.
Yeah, bullpen catchers in general are kind of unsung heroes, the amount of bullpens they have to catch. So shout outs to you.
Thank you.
But as a player myself who played in the CHSAA, a league in New York that doesn't kind of get the respect that it deserves because it puts out a ton of talent every year. How do you feel like that league prepared you to make the next step?
Yeah, I was actually talking about this last night with one of the coaches I had in high school. The biggest thing that separates it, I think, is the wood bats. A lot of big jump for high school guys and college guys, everyone is the jump from a metal bat to a wood bat. So I think that was just really a good advantage that I had just to hit the ground running with that.
Yeah, that's definitely, a great advantage to have because what outside people may not know is that the swings are very different. You have to be more compact with wood as opposed to metal, where you get away with a lot more with metal.
Absolutely.
Chuck, you had another question?
Yeah. So when you're down and you're in like the rookie leagues and the short season A ball, and you got all your teammates and everything, but you guys just are all competing for the same goal. So how do you kind of like balance out your competitive nature while trying to make it to the majors, while you're going up against guys that you're teammates with, that you're friends with? So how do you try to like balance that?
A big thing we have a mental strength coach in the minor leagues and up until the big league glove, obviously, but she helped me a lot with this, and it was just being in the moment, and realizing the things you can and can't control. So obviously in baseball and in life in general, there's a lot that we can't control. So if I could just be in the moment and worry about the task at hand, then all that stuff is kind of it's still in the back of my head, don't get me wrong, but I'm not stressing about it or thinking about it in key points that I shouldn't.
Now, Logan, you don't necessarily have to give us specific numbers, but in terms of salary and living situation, is that can you talk to us about that a little bit for those fans who may not know how minor leaguers in terms of living, like, do you still need your own flow of cash? Is it enough for you to live? How does that work out?
Yeah, so when we go down to either spring training, whenever we're in Clearwater, really, they put us up in a hotel, and that's really, really nice to have. It's just you're in a comfortable bed, and you're usually with a roommate that you like. And so as far as living goes during spring training and whenever we're in Clearwater, it's great. We're super, super lucky. But in short season in Williamsport, it's a bit different. So at the lower levels in the minor leagues, like short season and low A, they give you host families. And if you don't want a host family or something goes wrong with the host family, they give you usually an option for an extended stay or in a hotel that you can pay for yourself. So the host families aren't too expensive, not expensive at all actually, but I think that goes hand in hand with what they pay us. But I think a big issue has been lately that a lot of guys are caught up in that salary and how much they pay us. And yeah, it's not ideal, but again, it goes back to what I said before about worrying about things in our control, So yeah, to the outside, to a normal person, then obviously it wouldn't be ideal. But my perspective of it is that I'm doing what I love, so who am I to complain about a dollar figure?
Right. So essentially, you're saying there are some guys who complain about the salary, but in terms of for your focus, it's your goal. It's what you want to do, right?
Yeah, and I'm super lucky. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm with my parents, and I still have a lot of things that I don't have as a burden, if that makes sense. And it may be for someone who has a wife and kid or who's living on their own in the off season. So I understand that I'm super lucky in that aspect. But yeah, man, I mean, we're doing what I love. So who am I to complain about that?
Yep. Greg, another question?
Yeah. So as a hitter and as a fielder, what do you feel are the biggest adjustments you've had to make at the next level?
Being comfortable with the speed of the game. I think that was the biggest thing, especially coming from Long Island, New York. I mean, the baseball is good, but it's not what it is in pro ball. So different. I think, yeah, my first summer I struggled a bit with the velocity and the tempo of the game. But once I slowed that down, then it was easier to make different adjustments, whether that's in my swing or catching or whatever it may be.
Chuck?
Kind of going off of what Greg just asked, what's going to be your biggest adjustment going from a full season single A team to playing more of like in a rookie league or a short season A ball?
So are you asking from high school to that?
Yeah.
So it was different just as far as waking up every day with the same mission, kind of, if that makes sense. So high school, you play 3 days a week and you may be practicing one day, or it may be a game day the next, or you may be totally off, and then you have school to kind of distract you during the day as well. But I mean, obviously in pro ball now, it's all day, every day. It's usually the same thing or around the same schedule. So again, I'm going to keep going back to it, but just being in the moment and trying not to get caught up in the longevity of it is probably the biggest thing that's helped me, at least. And I know I still have a lot to learn in the game, but that's definitely something that I found helped me so far.
So Logan, now with COVID, the last 2 months, no sports. So as a player yourself, how are you dealing with it? How are the minor leaguers in terms of, I guess, financially? I'm sure you're home at this point. And also your strength and conditioning. Are you still able to work out? Are you still able to throw and keep yourself in shape in case you may have to go back anytime soon?
Yeah, again, I'm super lucky with my situation. So I have a cage in the backyard, and then my uncle and I actually built a pitching mound so guys can come over and throw their bullpens without touching each other or getting too close to each other. So it's been really good, and that's what I do to stay in baseball shape. But strength and conditioning wise, my trainer, his name is Adam Belding. He's out of Hop Hog, and he's given me programs and lent me some equipment that I'll use at home, and we'll just go about it that way. So I'm still really lucky and still able to make this a productive time.
Greg, Chuck, any other follow-up questions? Because I have one more special question for Logan.
No follow-up questions. I don't want to hit him with too many questions that off the dome.
All right, Chuck.
What would be your best memory of professional ball so far?
Oof. It's a good question. I haven't thought about that, to be honest with you. Probably on the field. Probably going to Australia and Taiwan this past winter was my best memory. Just seeing a completely different life out there and seeing how they play the game and go about their day. But off the field, it was definitely getting my first baseball card. That was a pretty special moment.
That's cool. That's amazing. Did they give you any idea of possibly, when you're going back, are you guys going to go back when MLB actually goes back or no? Do you have any idea?
No one knows yet. I've been talking with either our coaches and my agent back and forth, and no one really knows anything yet. So I was told this yesterday. The update is there's no update. So that's all I got.
And my final question comes from a professional standpoint. And if you could settle an argument. And again, as I told you before, we have a sports hit list group where 24 hours a day, we're talking to nothing but nonstop sports fans about sports. So juiced baseballs is a big topic in terms of, how do we go about, what's your thought on the juiced baseball, I guess, scandal, or what's your thought on that?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest with you. I do think that the big league balls are much different than the minor league balls. But to go with that, I think that guys are getting so big and strong these days that it's kind of a perfect storm, whether the balls are different or everyone's just getting stronger. But to answer your question, I do think that the big league balls are different than the minor league baseballs.
All right, cool. Well, Logan, thank you so much for taking your time to join us here on the Sports Hit List podcast. I wish you nothing but the best and good luck, and I'm definitely tracking your career. We're rooting for you. I'm sure SJB, I spoke to some of your former teachers over at SJB, Mrs. A, Mrs. Sanchez. They're all rooting for you, and they can't even wait to. I'm getting texts. They're like, "When is it coming out? When is it coming out?" They can't wait to see the interview. So definitely good luck, and again, such a nice young man and well-rounded, and I'm pulling for you, man. I'm pulling for you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Guys, any final thoughts?
No problem. You are probably the only Philly that I would ever want to root for in the big leagues.
He's a Yankee fan. He's a Yankee fan, Greg. Logan's a Yankee fan, right? Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
that's a little different. The Phillies are in our division.
How hard? But you know what, Logan? How hard is that though, knowing that you're a Yankee fan and you're playing for the Phillies? Like, I mean, for a Philly affiliate, is that tough blood?
Now it's not, but at first, so like now, like I said, I can't really claim that title, or else I'll get a lot of crap in the locker room. But I'm not gonna lie, the first time that we went to Tampa to play the Yankees, it was pretty surreal. It was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, now I'm a little bit over. Now I can just look at it from the business side of it.
Do you want to throw any quick shout outs to anyone before we wrap up?
No, that's it. I was actually going to say Miss Sanchez and Miss A. So that's and all of SJB. I mean, I love that school.
Yeah, it was great. We
Really
had some good times. Yeah, some good people. We had some good times there. So, again, special shout out to SJB. Please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. The Sports Hit List by the fans, for the fans. You can check us out on Instagram, Sports HL, on Facebook, The Sports Hit List. You can find our group and engage in daily conversation. Logan, if you ever want to chime in and just school some of the people who don't know sports, please do, because we make a lot of it, because a lot of knuckleheads who believe they know what they're talking about and they have no idea what they're talking about. So again, please also follow us on YouTube, The Sports Hit List by the fans. Thank you, Logan, Greg, and Chuck. See you guys next time.
Thank you, guys. That was awesome.